This past month, I met 4 different husband material men. And in today's video, I want to walk you through how I met them, why they were husband material men, and how you can go about meeting husband material men so that you can explore your chemistry and compatibility for a long-term serious relationship leading to marriage and family. 3 out of these 4 guys I met because I spent last month at a yoga camp in the south of India. It was really advanced. I thought I was good at yoga. Turns out I'm still a beginner, even though I've been practicing for 15 years. And these 3 men who I met were pretty much at my level. They were really serious, extremely committed, but we were not at the level of the several human pretzels who were in our class. So that was a relief to discover, okay, I'm not the only semi-beginner here. So I met 3 of these guys at my yoga camp, which was a huge commitment. It was 1 month, 5 hours a day, 6 days a week, and you had to fly to India. So all of us live outside India. We had to fly to India and then fly to this small city in the south of India. So you have to go to one of the major cities in India, one of the major international airports, and from there take some transport to come to Mysore, which is where we had our yoga camp, and then show up every day, 5 hours a day. It was an insane commitment. But the degree of commitment this required showed me that these guys were ready to put in that level of commitment. And therefore, they were commitment oriented. They all had the same job that they'd kept for multiple years. They'd all been living in the same place for a minimum of 2 years and planned to stay there for the next 2 years, or at least the next 18 months. And they showed up to class every single day of our 28-day yoga camp. I found that huge because when you can see proof that someone is able to commit, you can safely assume that they're probably demonstrating that ability to commit, that ability and desire to commit in other areas of their life. So that was number 1. They were commitment oriented in general. Secondly, they were all extremely polite and chivalrous. At different points during this past month, I asked for help from each of these 3 different guys, and all of them said yes with pleasure. They were so loving and helpful and generous with me. And it made me remember and also experience that husband material men are by nature providers, and empowered masculine men are providers. They're the best expression of themselves when they're most empowered and in their healthy masculine energy is when they're serving through their job, they are serving through their relationships, and they are serving through the things that they love to do, the activities they engage in. All 3 of these guys who I met were so happy to render service to me through helping me with the help that I required, and they asked for absolutely nothing in return. In fact, when I tried to do nice stuff for them, I said, hey, let me get you a drink, or let me buy you something, or get you a gift. They were like, no, I don't want that. So they had this attitude of giving, of generosity, and of service. And finally, they were dedicated and committed to what they had committed to do. So they came to India, they came to Mysore for this yoga camp, not to find a partner or to do some other project. They were just here for this one purpose, which illustrates that husband material men are monofocused. Men in general are doing best when they are doing one thing at a time. Men don't succeed when they try to do many different goals at the same time. So very often, especially in my database, the guys who I have, they have just done one thing for the last 15 years, which is their career. They're building their career. And so they literally have had 0 time to date. So they're incredibly successful in their career, making 250, 300,000 a year, but they've had no romantic partners. And it's very difficult for them to start the process of finding a romantic partner, which is why they reach out to a matchmaker for an introduction. In a similar fashion, these 3 husband material men who I met came to India to do this yoga camp. They didn't come to do tourism. They didn't come to experience Ayurveda, which you can also do in Mysore. They didn't come to learn an Indian language or get massages every day. You can do that. And they all did that at some point this month, but it wasn't the primary focus of their time here. The primary focus was the yoga classes, and they showed up to every single class, every single day early. 15 to 20 minutes before the class began. And when I saw their degree of seriousness with which they treated the yoga program, I realized, wow, these men are serious because they are bringing that serious attitude to this event to which they have committed. You will see this with husband material men in general. When they commit, be it to their job, to a partner, or to something else, like maybe they've decided to join a soccer team, they commit. They are 100% serious. They will show up early. They will be there every single time. They don't say that they're sick. They don't leave early. They don't show up late. And they never complain while they're doing the activity, even when it gets hard. The fourth guy who I met actually came to me as a match from a partner matchmaker. Now, because we're partners, we share our databases, we share matches with each other. So she didn't charge me for this, but otherwise you would have had to pay to meet a guy like him. And he was an extremely handsome Indian guy who has lived in India, the US, and Europe. Really handsome. And I think that the main reason he's single is because he has been moving so much. So he moved first from India to the US to do his master's. Then he moved from the US to Europe, where he ended up working. And then he moved from one country and one city to another within Europe. So again, just so much moving and constant change in his work environment that he wasn't able to focus on finding a partner. This guy was extremely handsome. He's close to his family. There were a few weird points about him, which is what I want to share with you today, and share as well why they were red flags for me when I was thinking, could this be a husband material man for me? So the first three guys were wonderful, but one guy lives in my city, but the others live in different countries from me. They were lovely people, but I couldn't imagine moving to their countries. I knew that they weren't going to move to where I was living. And ultimately, although we, for a month here in India, we shared the same lifestyle, values, and mindsets, we were totally aligned. We had conversations every single day, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with them, learned so much from them, really appreciated their energy, found them attractive and handsome and beautiful, gorgeous white teeth. I realized that this moment in time, this chunk of time we're spending in India is just that. It's a moment in time. I need a man who can join me for the next 50 years. And I realized through spending 1 month with these guys, the more they talked about their regular lives, their day-to-day, I realized I wouldn't fit into that. One guy lives in a really small city in Europe. It's a capital city. It's a cool city. I've been there. It's nice. But I was like, am I going to move there? Absolutely no way in the world. It's a country where I don't speak the language. I have zero interest in learning the language. And so I was like, okay, we don't actually share the same lifestyle. He had no intention of moving to where I live, which is a very high cost of living city that has access to unlimited culture, but he doesn't really value Western culture in that same way. And so it was not on his priority list. The second guy lives on a small island and he has a beautiful life. He lives in a house with a garden. But I was like, I'm not going to move to an island with a house and a garden. I'm living in a capital city, which is a center of culture and extremely well connected to the rest of the world. That is not going to change at any point in the next 10 years. So, nope. The third guy lived in the same city, but he lived in the suburbs. Where I live, there's a huge difference between the city center and the suburbs. This is something you want to be extremely clear about when you are building your ideal partner profile, when you are saying, what is a non-negotiable and a deal breaker for my ideal partner? You want to be really clear about the zip code that your future husband lives in. Sure, you can say, I live in New York and I'm open to meeting someone in London, but London is huge. So you want to be clear about which zones in London you would be willing to date in, because a guy's lifestyle choices, how much he's spending on rent or his mortgage, where he's chosen to rent or buy, and what kind of neighborhood he calls home is a huge statement about his mindset, his values, and his intentions for the rest of his life. That is why you want to be crystal clear on all of this before you even start to meet potential partners. I'm very clear that I don't date men who live in the suburbs because I don't even set foot in the suburbs. I literally don't go there. My entire life happens in the city center, and therefore it doesn't make sense for me to consider someone who has built his life in the suburbs. Totally fine, zero judgment, but not my cup of tea. That was why none of these three guys were on my list. Coming back to guy number 4. So as I mentioned, I met him through another matchmaker. Very, very handsome guy. I was like, wow, this guy is beautiful to look at. But here are a couple of things that he shared in his profile that had my antenna going up and the siren going. So the first thing that he said on his profile that he had shared with Matchmaker was that he was working on his startup, and his dream life is both of us, meaning him and his future wife, working on our respective businesses that we love and that are our passion projects, but that also make money. And I thought, cool, because my business is a passion project and it also makes money, and I love it. And I love what I'm doing. I love working with women, such smart women, to help them find love. I love love. So I thought, this is really cool. But when I looked at that guy on LinkedIn, I found out that he's a regular corporate employee. He's not a business owner. He wants to be a business owner, and we call these people entrepreneurs. They want to be entrepreneurs. Maybe they're working on a startup. Maybe the startup has generated some cash, but they're not full-time business owners, and they're definitely not making enough money to meet all of their needs. So he lives in a high cost of living city where he has a 6-figure salary net. So he's making over 100,000 euro net, living in Europe, which is incredible. It's like you're in the top 1% of the society when you earn that amount of money. But his description of who he was and who he actually is were two dramatically different things. That was red flag number 1. He described himself as a digital nomad and as a self-employed business owner, when in fact he's a corporate employee living in one city where I presume, because he is, I think, still an Indian citizen, he's most likely going to do what most Indian citizens do, which is stay in that city until he's eligible for a passport, apply for a passport, which could take a few months to a few years, and only then be able to live outside that country for more than 6 months, aka he's not really a digital nomad. The second thing that he mentioned on his profile, he said, oh, my dream life is where we cook all of our food at home, we buy really high quality ingredients, and we don't eat in restaurants. So I was thinking, I'm a business owner, and this guy wants to be a business owner. And I had to stop cooking because I have so little time between trying to stay healthy, work out, go to yoga class, sleep enough, and do my work, building a business, which requires such a massive investment of time and energy, that I literally do not have time to cook. So I either fry eggs, which takes exactly 1 minute, or I buy food. I do not cook. So I was like, this guy wants to marry a business owner, and he wants to be a business owner, but he imagines that someone is going to do the cooking from scratch. Complete fantasy. He has a completely unrealistic idea of what his future marriage is going to look like. Red flag number 2. And the final red flag was that he mentioned, so this matchmaker, it's really cool. On her database, she has a slot where each person can enter in their habits to work on. So it's really cool. She's the only person I've seen who does this. And so he had written in some of his habits that he's working on, and we all have them. I myself have lots of habits that I'm working on, bad habits, and some that I think, I don't know if they're ever going to get better. They're just like character flaws. So one of the things that he had written was perennial tardiness, aka he's always late. Okay, it's really common in India for people to be late. In fact, in India, when I'm visiting friends and they say, oh, meet me at 5, and I show up at 5, they are not ready. And when we make a plan to meet at a restaurant and they say, okay, I'll be there at 7, they show up at 7:45, and I'm there at 6:55 waiting. But this is normal in India. So, okay. This guy wrote forever late on his list of bad habits to work on. I asked myself, what does it mean when someone is late? Number 1, it sends a very clear message. I don't value your time. Number 2, it says, I'm disorganized. I've not built the skill of being organized enough to show up early for our appointment. And number 3, it says, I don't value neither your time nor the organizational skills to be early, that I'm no longer late. And I know this firsthand because I was that person who was perennially late. I was late to everything. I was even late. I had this scholarship to go work in Switzerland, and they organized this day for all of the scholarship awardees. You had to take a train to go to this capital of Switzerland, Bern, and we would, meet the ambassador of the US ambassador to Switzerland, and we would be at the US embassy and blah, blah. It was like a big organized thing with 50 different people. And I was late to the train. Now, the trains are never late in Switzerland. So when I was late to the train, I took the next train, which arrived half an hour later. So when I showed up, they were like, why are you late? And I was like, well, the train was late. And they were like, the train's never late. You were late. And I was like, oh, that was the first time that I woke up and I was like, I need to work on my organizational skills because I could have been early. It's true. I was that person who was late to everything. I was late to family dinners. I was late to weddings. I was late to work. I was late to school, to class. I was late to dinner with friends. I was late all the time. And I didn't realize it was a big deal until it started impacting my friendships. Friends got annoyed at me. People started telling me, why are you late? This is not cool. This is annoying. And I realized, I was like, there's no need for me to be late. This is something I can easily work on. This is not rocket science. So I started doing less. I'm a person who loves being productive. I love doing 1,000 things. My brain was always working at 60 miles an hour. And so I just started doing less, and I started showing up to the place early and taking a novel with me so I could sit there and read, even if that meant that I was waiting for 20 minutes for my appointment. No problem, I'll be early. And to this day, I have friends who will be late to meet me, and I say, you know what, you do you, but I'm going to be early. So it's a no judgment situation for people who are going to be late. Some of my friends are perennially late, but I am early, or I'm at least on time. Coming back to this guy who said he's perennially late, it made me realize, do I want to be in a relationship with someone who is going to annoy me every single time we have a plan to meet up? We're going out to dinner, he's late. We're going to a wedding, he's late. We're going to a party, he's late. I'm waiting for him to bring me something that I forgot, he's late. Do I want to be with a guy who's perennially late? It stands out in such stark contrast because the last person I had a relationship was always on time or early, always. Even if I thought I had gotten to the location early, he was already there. It was such a non-issue for him to be there on time. It was just like breathing for him, that I realized that there are people in the world who are not like me. They're not perennially late. They don't have to make this massive effort to be on time. They just are, because they respect their own time and they respect other people's time. That experience was so informative for me. And when I was looking at this guy's profile, he's so handsome. He checks literally every single box except the box called respect for my time. If someone doesn't respect your time, they don't respect you. This guy was telling me through his profile from my partner Matchmaker that he does not respect other people. He thinks he's superior because he's perennially late. And he lives in a country where being late is considered very poor manners, but he's still late. So that is when I was like, okay, you're an X because you lack respect for other humans, because you think you're superior. And people who think they're superior are ultimately struggling with low self-worth. So behind his tardiness was low self-worth. It was the same case for me until I got over my lateness and just started respecting other people's time. This is my summary of my August dating report, exactly how I met 4 husband material men and why I turned these 4 people down. The key point here, the key takeaways are not, oh my God, why didn't you find a husband this past month? But that I focused, one, on meeting high quality, educated professionals who are wonderful to be around. They've really added so much to my life this past month. I had such an enriching experience having conversations with them. They were all very good looking, very fit people who have ready smiles, beautiful white teeth. They're sporty, they take good care of their bodies, they eat healthy, they value and prioritize healthy eating. And finally, they are relationship minded. They want to be married, they want to be in a stable, loving, long-term relationship, and they want to commit, and they are showing that desire to commit by committing to other stuff in their life. The more that you actively meet husband material men, ideally 1 a week, but at a minimum 1 a month, the more that you will start to build an abundance mindset around husband material men, which allows the universe to give you more husband material men, to give you options, to give you high quality choices. Attracting high quality men into your life is just like attracting more money into your life. If you're like, I need money, oh, I need money, and we've all had those moments where you're like, I really need money right now, it just doesn't come. It's like money is falling out of your hands. But the more you say, you know what, there's enough money in the world, there's abundance everywhere, I feel so grateful for every penny that comes into my life, the more money just seems to fall into your life. So it's the same with meeting and attracting husband material men. I have really worked on this. And so even without trying, without dating, I regularly, consistently meet at least 4 husband material men every single month without fail. So that's about 1 a week. And this is without dating, without using a single dating app. You can do so too, and I will help you. If you would like to get started meeting and dating husband material men, you're struggling to meet them currently, wherever you live, click the link below. I've put together 9 of the most attractive profiles in my exclusive private database. Men who are ready to settle down, they're fit, they're attractive, they're good looking, they earn 6 figures or more net. They are absolutely ready for a long-term committed relationship. They want to get married and have kids, and I can introduce you to them. So click the link below, grab their profiles, get to know them, and see if you have the chemistry and compatibility for a long-term serious relationship. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.